Welcome to Coffee and Conversation for ESL Listening. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Christina. So grab a cup and join a conversation.
Hey there. Long time no see as always.
I know. We can't seem to, life gets in the way. And we always try to plan it to keep it a little more consistent and on a schedule. And then things happen.
You're a busy lady.
I know. But we're back here. It's all good.
It's all good. And, we have a topic today, and it feels like, we haven't talked about food for like 5 minutes. So here we go. We've got sort of a food topic. Today, we're going to talk about restaurants.
Ooh.
Restaurants.
Yeah. Big part of American culture, I would say, restaurants.
Absolutely. Yeah, we got a lot of them. Some better than others, but we'll get to that.
Yep.
Oh, before we get into anything here, I want to remind everybody that we've got show notes. I keep forgetting to talk about that at the beginning here. Click the link for the show notes. We'll have vocabulary, maybe other links to things that we're talking about, cultural notes, who knows what else. And also, I want to say that we have a transcript that we put together. Now, nowadays, I don't know if you noticed this, Christina, but nowadays on your podcast platforms, they kind of do one automatically.
Yeah.
Automatically generated. But they're not that great.
No.
So I have done it manually. So I highlight the words that we're talking about. I fix up some mistakes, because it's not perfect, those auto-generated things.
Right. So when you said we have transcript, it's actually you have transcript because you put all the work into it. And
no, you do not have time to be fooling around with this stuff. Believe me, I know. It's quite all right.
I appreciate you doing all that.
No, hey, without you, we don't have a podcast, right? Yes, it's true.
It's fun. This is fun.
It is. So talking about fun, let's talk about food. Woo!
Food is fun.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about restaurants. And of course, there are several types of restaurants. And so we're going to kind of break it down and talk about each one a little bit. Probably the most famous, most common, most... what is the word? That there's so many of them. I'm trying to not say ubiquitous because I know that's a hard word. What's another word for that?
Oh,
they're everywhere.
Question. They are everywhere. I agree.
Fast food. Yes, fast food restaurants.
Fast food. Yeah.
So,
and we probably want to give a little kind of a meaning to what the fast food is. It doesn't mean fast food doesn't mean that you have to eat it fast necessarily. You don't want to choke on that stuff. But fast food, when you talk about fast food, is something you can pick up quickly. It doesn't take long to cook. You don't have to necessarily sit down at the restaurant. You can, but you don't have to. You can just pick it up and sometimes eat it while you're walking, eat it quickly on the bench at the park, eat it in your car while you're driving. So it's something fast to eat, but it's also fast to cook, like prepare.
Exactly. You get in and out. There's even a fast food place called In and Out now that I said that. And I think our culture is much more like grab it fast, eat it, go. And I think that's not so common. And other countries, do people eat in their cars the way we do?
No, I don't think so. And I feel like in a lot of cultures, the food, there's a different meaning to food there in terms of food is not just to, stuff your belly or eat quickly because you are hungry and need nutrition. In a lot of cultures, food is this is how you pass time. This is how you sit with your family, it brings people together. You just sit and have food and conversation. And, so it's not one of those things where, well, I just need to eat because I'm hungry. I feel like there's a different meaning to it. That's why I don't think fast food is as popular in other countries as it is here in the United States.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I was looking at something online. Actually, I've seen it a couple times where they have like, oh, these fantastic products that, will just make your life easier. And one
Mhm.
of them is this thing that you put in your car, and I think you attach it. You're giving me a crazy look. I think you attach it to your air conditioning vent thing,
Mhm.
and it's a little holder to put your McNugget sauce in so that you can be eating and dipping or your french fries or who knows what into your ketchup. Crazy, right?
That is crazy. I mean, isn't that what cup holders are for?
I guess.
Or the passenger seat. Um, but it is crazy. I mean, but that just tells you that people here eat in the car all the time, and it's one of those things that I am not a big fan of eating in the car, and I don't like
Mhm.
when my husband or my son eat in my car,
Yeah.
mainly because they're messy. But
Yeah. I just don't
you
like
know,
it because it's not comfortable. I mean, even if I'm not, and people drive and eat all the time, which is
oh
crazy.
yeah,
But like, even if I'm just sitting in the passenger seat and I'm forced to eat something because whatever reason, it's not comfortable. I need access to my drink and my napkin, and things aren't sitting properly on my lap. And you know what I mean?
yeah. No, it's not ideal situation when you eat.
No, no. So, how often would you say you go get fast food?
Oh, I would say maybe once a month,
Okay,
if that.
that's good.
And I, for myself, I would say about once a month. I maybe for my son, maybe twice a month or so. The kids, they like fast food,
Yeah, they do.
which, yeah, not very healthy. But I'm not a big fan of fast food. I usually, if I absolutely have to, like especially like on my lunch break, if I forgot to bring lunch or didn't have time to fix it in the morning, and I need a quick lunch because you don't usually get that much time. I'll go grab something from the fast food. But and when we travel, like if we're on the road going
Yeah.
somewhere and you don't really have time to go into the restaurant and sit there and wait for the meal and all that, usually we would grab some fast food on the way. But other than that, I don't eat it often. What about you?
Well, I don't eat meat, so that's a
Right.
problem. Which is actually better for me, I think. Then I don't have any reason or desire to go for fast food. So I
But
think it works out better.
but there's always fries.
Well, that's not exactly a meal. And
No.
plus, this I don't want to get too deep into the weeds on this here, but a lot of those French fries are cooked in, some kind of fat from beef, and I don't really want any part of that. Yeah, I know
Oh,
you're making a face at me, but it's true. Yeah, so I tend to stay away from fast food. I just think it's a safer option.
option. Yeah, and I agree with you because I mean there are days I'm not vegetarian, but there are days where I fast and don't eat meat, like usually on Fridays. It's hard to find a good
Yeah.
restaurant fast food place to grab something quick. I usually my go-to on days when I don't eat meat is bagels. I love
Mm,
bagels.
me too.
So I'll grab some bagels with some cream cheese or schmear and I'm happy. That's my perfect lunch.
Yeah, I love bagels, especially good, fresh, delicious bagels. Really not so easy to find around here, but
Mhm.
do love a
Yeah.
good bagel. I think I've said that before.
Mhm.
So, one thing I was going to say is like, okay, fast food, we know a lot of these famous restaurants, McDonald's or whatever, they're all over the world, but the interesting thing is that they don't have the same menu items all over the world. So, like the things that we're used to, you go to another country, it could be completely different. And I'll ask you about your experience in a minute because I'm sure Ukraine has something different that's than what we have here. But when I went to India, I thought I've got to go to McDonald's there because I am just dying to know what the options are because there's going to be no beef, there's going to be no pork,
Right.
and there's going to be a lot of veggie options. And so I was like, oh, I got to try this. So they've got this thing called the Maharaja Mac. And I was like, that's the famous thing there. I was
Yeah.
like, I got to try that, right? And I'm sorry to report it was very underwhelming. It was not
Oh,
impressive at all. So,
what, what was it made of? Like, what is it? Like a vegetarian burger, or?
yeah, it's just some kind of patty with spices and potatoes, I think, and vegetables. I don't even remember what it was. But it felt a little bland to me and kind of dry. Yeah,
Hmm.
it really, it was kind of a letdown. I was disappointed. I wanted it to be good,
Yeah.
but no.
Oh, that stinks. That's no fun.
Yeah.
Um, when I went to, it was a long time ago when I went to McDonald's in Ukraine. And honestly, I did not notice the difference.
Oh, okay.
It was kind of the same stuff: hamburgers or cheeseburgers, fries, um, soda, little ice cream things. But we have, the thing is that we have our own fast food, kind of street food, fast food.
Hmm.
So McDonald's is popular, but not that popular as it is here. And it's not as, like here, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know how many McDonald's
McDonald's
restaurants
visits.
we have here in town, but
Huh.
it's a lot, like a lot of
Yeah.
them.
I don't
So,
even
and I
remember.
think, right, when
I
I
mean,
was in UK,
I don't really pay attention to those things, so
no,
I can picture where one is right now, but I can't even remember where the rest of them are.
oh yeah, we have tons of them, but there are only, like in Kiev, there was only one, and then there's like they're mainly in big cities,
Right.
so there's not that many of them.
Yeah.
But
That's probably better.
yeah, but you're right. I've read about it, and I watched some television pieces that showed how McDonald's in different countries, how they adjust their menu so it has like some sort of a food from that country, that culture, to kind of make up for it. So that makes sense. I
Right.
mean, that's a good marketing strategy.
Absolutely. You have to adjust for the local tastes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you wouldn't do good business for sure.
Mm-mm.
Well, so we're going to move on to a different kind of restaurant, casual dining, we're going to
Mm.
say. But before we do that, I thought we'd do something a little fun. We haven't done this in a while, but I remembered that people like this and we had fun with it. A little bit of trivia.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Yeah, a little bit of trivia. So, couple things. Any idea what is the oldest fast food restaurant chain in the US?
Um,
McDonald's.
it's not McDonald's.
Uh-huh.
What is it? Wendy's?
No, but it starts with a W. White Castle.
Oh, yes, you're right. Oh my gosh, you know what? It's funny because we just talked about it. And
Oh.
you know why we talked about it? Because we were coming back from Chicago and my son said, well, I'm hungry and all that. And he's like, oh, can we have McDonald's? I'm like, oh gosh, no. So my husband had this brilliant idea to introduce our son to White Castle.
Mm. Uh-oh.
My kid is ruined now
I think so.
because he said that was the best thing he's ever had in his life. I'm like, yeah, no.
Poor kids, their tastes are just not developed
Oh,
yet.
terrible, terrible. So, and I remember we had that conversation that my husband said, they're the original, like they're the oldest,
Oh, yeah,
yeah, fast food
cool.
chain.
Okay. Did you know that because of Happy Meals so for those who don't know, I'm assuming they have Happy Meals everywhere. I don't know. But if you get a kid's meal at
Mhm.
McDonald's, it's called a Happy Meal and it comes with, I don't know what, but there's a little toy
Yep.
Yeah, and like a little dessert or something. But because of Happy Meals, McDonald's is by far the largest toy distributor in the world.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that
No
crazy?
way.
Yes, very crazy.
And those toys are not even good.
Well, right, they didn't say the largest good toy distributor, but you know.
But again, it's such a big marketing thing there because every time they do have toys, it always has to do with some sort of a new movie that's coming out or a
Right.
new game or it's always, I think, like the movie industries or gaming industries have this contract or agreement with McDonald's that they will be, so that's how they do promotion. So it makes sense.
Exactly. It works well for everybody.
Oh yeah.
Everybody's making money off of it. So,
Yep.
absolutely. Okay,
Interesting.
so the last thing that I want to say for trivia here, I sent you an image, and before we talked, yeah,
Want me to look it up?
yes, I want you to look at it now. This is an image of logos from a whole bunch of fast food restaurants, and we'll link it in the show notes as well so you can see. But I would just like you to tell me if you notice anything about that image. Don't think too
Well,
hard about it, just what comes first to your mind.
first to my mind comes the colors.
Uh-huh. What are they?
It's red,
Uh-huh.
yellow, and
Uh-huh.
green.
Okay. But mostly red and yellow, right?
Yep.
Well, apparently, there's so much psychology that goes into this kind of stuff, into marketing. And apparently, um, the most profitable colors when it comes to food is red and yellow. And when
Really?
I read that piece of trivia, so I go, well, I just Googled, fast food logos and images came
Sure
up
enough.
and it had nothing to do with the colors. I didn't ask about that. I just said fast food logos and I got that thing and instantly you can see, okay, there must be something to that.
So red and yellow, but also green. I'm noticing a lot of them have green too. I wonder what that is all
Yeah,
about.
I think the green might indicate like something is fresh. Like you'll see Subway
Mm.
has green in it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So interesting, right? I had
That's
no idea
interesting.
about that. And I didn't even notice that those colors were so prevalent. Cool.
Makes sense.
All
Cool.
right. Okay, moving on to casual dining. So we're going to talk about just, not your upscale, because I don't think we're going to have time to get to those
Oh.
upscale and fancy restaurants, but just your everyday restaurants. Sometimes we'll call it a sit down restaurant because
Hmm.
you're not just grabbing fast food and going, you are sitting down and you're being served. Um, it could be informal, maybe a little bit more not fancy, but where they are serving you and you're leaving tips. And I don't think we're going to have time to talk about tips in this episode, but I think that's a really important topic that we've
You
got to
know,
talk
I think we should have a whole new episode about just tips because there's so many different industries and places that deal with tips that it's interesting, and I think maybe our listeners would appreciate that because it does
about.
differ from culture to culture.
And it's so complex. I mean, it's not just like, oh, leave a tip and that's
Right.
it. I mean, I actually had to do a little research on this because I wanted to say the correct thing. I didn't want to say something crazy. And I was like, oh my gosh, we're never going to get to this because it's complex and it's weird. So we'll save tipping for another day.
Yep. Yep.
But anyway, so now how often would you say you go to a sit down restaurant?
You know, here's the funny thing. Ever since COVID,
Yeah.
a lot of the times it's takeout rather than going and sitting down in the restaurant.
Even now, huh?
Even now.
Wow.
I don't know, it's just easier, and I mean every once in a while I like to go to the restaurant and have the waiter and spend time there and all that, but I also really prefer to just eating at home. I don't
Hmm.
always feel like cooking or have time, to cook a meal and all that, so we would just take out but sit down at home at the dining, kitchen table and eat together. But The last time I actually went out to a restaurant, sit down restaurant, was a couple weekends ago because we were traveling. We were in another city. So we went out and sat at the restaurant.
Yes. Can't really take out too well there if you're traveling.
Yeah. They don't have utensils at the hotel.
Yeah. Well,
What
it's
about
really
you?
interesting. Well, because I know a lot of people like to do that, and I actually do not like takeout.
Oh,
I
okay.
I don't like it, and the reason I don't is because there are certain things I want it to be hot and fresh. And by the time they pack it up and I drive home and I get the plates out and then, now it's cold already. And I
Yeah.
don't like that. So, yeah, I like to eat it right there.
No, that's good point.
Yeah.
Point.
But what about a favorite ethnicity? Like if you're going to go out for something that's not American food, and I don't think there's really a lot of Ukrainian restaurants over there.
Um,
I think there's a shortage.
well, luckily, I live close to Chicago, close
Yeah.
enough to Chicago area, and there are Ukrainian restaurants there. So when we travel, almost every time we will go to Ukrainian restaurant. I don't have preferred cuisine.
Okay.
I just love food, and I like
Fair enough.
love food, and I like all different cuisines, different like different ethnic foods, and I always I like trying something new too.
Yes.
So when I lived in Ukraine, you don't have as much choice of different ethnic foods. I mean, we have some, but not as much as it is here. So I was like, ooh, this is awesome. To try everything. But I do like I don't think I have met the food that I didn't like from ethnic cuisine.
Now, you sent me to that Ukrainian restaurant when I was in Chicago, and it was very good.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know that I'd had Ukrainian food like in a restaurant before. I mean, aside from
Mhm.
you cooking it. And it was quite good.
Well, and it's funny because when we go to Chicago, my son, my 10-year-old, usually goes, well, can we go back to that Ukrainian place? Because it was so good. Like he
Oh,
likes going there too. But yeah, but I always try, I try not to because, yeah, I miss my home and I want to eat the food, even though I can cook it. But, you know, why if you can just have somebody else do it for you? Um, but I do like trying other food, like so that our town we live in, we have a lot of restaurants here. We have
yeah.
pretty good variety of different ethnic cuisines and all that, but not all of it, right? So when we go in a big to the big city, I always try to find something, some sort of a ethnic cuisine that we don't have here in town. Like I want to try that. Yeah. So what's your favorite ethnic cuisine?
Probably coming as no shock to you, I would say Indian is my favorite.
It
Because
is
I like
delicious.
spices. Oh,
Oh, and you know what? Well, you know that working with students, we always had potlucks.
yes.
So like here and there, I would always try some Indian cuisine and all that. But actually, that first time you cooked for me and my husband,
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
That's when I actually really started liking Indian food.
Well, and this gets back to the restaurant thing, and I want to go ahead and say this because I think this is especially true for Indian food, but probably for a lot of different
Mhm.
cuisines, that a lot of restaurants will have a buffet option.
Mhm.
And if that is your first experience with whatever that cuisine is, you will probably be disappointed. And
Yeah,
I know a lot of people will tell me, oh, I don't like Indian food because the only thing they did was go to a buffet. And it's just, sometimes it's good, but more often than not, they keep
it's
it
not.
real bland because they're trying to, you know, make the locals happy. But it just doesn't have the flavor. And when people actually go and try, something straight from the menu, not the buffet,
Mhm.
it's like a whole different meal.
Much better.
Yeah, for sure.
Much better.
So, we are quickly coming up on time.
Oh
We can talk
gosh.
about food forever.
Yeah.
But have you ever had a meal at a restaurant that was so memorable that you think about it maybe even years later?
Oh. I wouldn't say, not like one meal or a dish or something, but the experience I had once, that
Okay.
includes food and all that.
Yeah.
I don't remember which city we were in, but we went to a tapas restaurant.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
it's
I
a
love
it's a it's a Spanish cuisine, right? So tapas is you just get like small dishes of all these different, I would say, appetizers, kind of, but you
yes.
get a variety of them. So you get
Yeah.
to try a little bit of everything. And it was funny because I absolutely loved it. And I would love to go back to a tapas restaurant or tapas bar. My husband, unfortunately, he liked the food, but he walked out and he said, I am starving.
I knew he was going to say that. You have to order enough though. But you know what? I know what you mean. I love that kind of food because I like a little bite of this, a little bite of that. That's why in theory a buffet is great, but unfortunately the execution is not always the best.
It's the quality. Yeah, its quality is not always the best, but I agree. I like, well, and it's a funny thing because we went when we usually go to breakfast, right?
Buffet.
Buffet, right? So we
Brunch.
always order, like, we order two dishes. You order one and I order one, but we always order a sweet one and a savory one, and then ask the waiter to bring us two little plates so we can share because we
Exactly.
want to try each other's food, but without actually like cutting off your piece of your
Digging into your plate.
waffle. Yeah. So I agree with that. Like trying little bit of everything is ideal.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah. Do you have a dish in mind that you've had one day and you're like, oh my gosh, I would love to have that?
I do, and it's so weird. Like if I tell you this, you're gonna be like, that sounds crazy. That doesn't even make any sense."
Oh,
But probably like 6 years ago, 7 years ago, who knows? We went to Atlanta, Georgia, to visit my husband's friend, and he worked downtown. So we met him there at the office, and we went to grab lunch downtown. And he took us to some place that he goes to frequently. And it was this Mediterranean kind of place where they had falafel and hummus. And, uh, it's pretty simple stuff. I've had lots of falafel, lots of hummus in my
yeah.
life. Um, but this was incredible.
Oh,
It was so good. And I wasn't that impressed when I went in there because it's just like, kind of like a little bar kind of thing, like a Subway where you're like, oh, I'll take this and that. And they put it together for you in a wrap. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And I sat down and I started digging into this wrap. And oh my gosh, it was the best falafel sandwich I'd ever eaten.
really?
And their chef was passing by even, and I think he passed by, and I stopped over and I said, excuse me, I just have to tell you, this is the most fantastic falafel I've ever had. And it was. And even now, we went to drive to North Carolina this last weekend,
Uh-huh.
and driving through, you have to drive through Atlanta, and I
Right.
thought about that freaking sandwich.
Oh, you should have stopped.
Oh, it's downtown now.
Ah, man, that sounds delicious.
So, and I decided, since I'm going to talk about this place so much, I should at least give it a shout out, right? It's it's in Atlanta, and it's called Aviva by Camille. So if you're ever in Atlanta, go check him out and try that falafel wrap. It was amazing.
Oh, that sounds delicious. Oh.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, one last question because we're coming up on time,
Yep.
and I got a couple of trivia questions for
Sure.
this section as well. But first, are there any dishes you like to order out because it's too much work to make at home?
You know what? Japanese food, I would
Oh
say.
yeah.
So like sushi. I like
Mhm.
sushi. I really do. And it's pain in the neck to make it at home, and I feel like I'm never gonna succeed in that. But also tempura fried vegetables.
Oh yeah, that's good stuff.
Oh, I think I could eat them every single day.
Yeah, it's
So,
not like our kind of, fried vegetables that we have that's like deep fried in this heavy batter. It's
no.
really light and it's
Oh,
good.
yes. Very
Yeah.
light and just delicious. So what
All
about
right.
you?
Um, I would probably say go back to the Indian food again. It's not that I can't make it because I certainly can, and my husband can make it too. But this also goes back to wanting to try lots of little different things.
Yeah.
So you go with a group of people, everybody orders something, you kind of pass the stuff around, and you get lots more dishes to try. So I do like to do that.
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right, last question. Is there anything you would never order in a restaurant because you know you make it better?
I don't think so.
That's surprising because you make really good food. So I would think that there's got to be something that you're like, nah, mine's better.
Yes, it depends on a restaurant because I try, like there's a lot of times I try to recreate things at home. Like if I try something at the restaurant, like you were talking about Mediterranean food, we were going to this Mediterranean place where you can kind of build your own bowl or salad, or like you go through and then you pick your things, and I
I
loved
know
it.
what this place is, I think.
Yeah, so I loved it so much that I remember one weekend, it was last summer actually, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna make all the fixings and all these things, and I'm gonna make whatever the shawarma chicken that goes with it, and couscous and rice and all that, and we're going to have our own Mediterranean dinner. It actually was good.
Overachiever here.
It was good. It was
I bet.
good. I feel like I have gotten really good at fixing Mexican food.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, I was like, oh. But I would say, Ukrainian food, I would make it better than the restaurant. But I can't say that because the restaurants we went to in Chicago have really good Ukrainian food.
Yeah. And again, there's probably a lot of that stuff that takes a long time to make. So, and I don't know about you, but if I have to spend too many hours in the kitchen working to make it, by the time I sit down to eat it, I've lost all taste for it.
Tired.
So
Yes.
sometimes those are the things that are good to get in a restaurant.
Yeah. I mean, to kind of give you another example, I make Easter bread for Ukrainian Easter every year, but I only make it once a year. You know why? Because it takes 7 hours to make that bread.
7? Come on.
No. Granted, most of it is just waiting for it to rise, but still, like your whole day is tied up because you're making the bread. So once a year, that's all.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So, oh my goodness, we are coming up on time. So I'm not even going to finish these questions, unfortunately, but we can revisit.
I think we need part 2.
Okay. I like it.
This will be restaurants part 1. Next one will be restaurants part 2.
Fabulous. I love it. Okay, so let's end this with a couple more pieces of trivia.
Sounds good.
What do you think is the busiest day of the year for restaurants?
Ooh, Friday night.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I mean, of the year.
Oh, of the year for restaurants?
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't clear on that.
Hold on. New Year's?
Hint, it's coming up soon. I mean, not for the release date of this, whenever it will be, but as of you and I talking now,
it's coming up soon. It's like 4th of July?
Sooner than that.
Memorial Day?
Mother's Day.
Mother's Day.
Yeah.
I should know better than that.
Now.
Oh, makes sense. Mother's Day brunch. Sure. Everywhere.
Absolutely.
That's right. Nobody wants mothers to cook.
No, absolutely not.
I mean,
right? Yeah. All right. Next question. The most popular ethnic foods, cuisines in the U.S., the top 3, what do you think they are? And let's see if you can get the order right.
Italian.
Top 3. Yep. Number 2.
Mexican.
Yes. Number 3.
Chinese.
You got it. Absolutely.
I mean, everybody loves pizza.
Right? I mean, you can't go wrong with pizza. Yeah.
No, you can't.
And my last piece of trivia, which I thought was kind of crazy, and who knows since then what we have, but 2016 was the first year that in the United States, people spent more on dining out than they did cooking at home.
Why 2016?
I don't know. I mean, and I'm thinking, it's probably even worse now because eating out is so expensive now,
Oh,
since COVID and everything. But I don't really see a big slowdown in people going out to eat.
right. And I feel like more restaurants are opening up too.
Yeah. So yeah,
Interesting.
more money eating out than cooking at home. So yeah, interesting. That
Wow.
tells you something.
Huh. Interesting.
Well, okay, it's been fun. I enjoyed this conversation. I don't know about you.
Me too. Me too. Like I said, I think we need to make another part because we didn't cover everything.
No,
There's so much more to it.
absolutely not. But until then, here's to good coffee, good vibes, and great conversations.
Cheers.
Cheers.